Thank you for joining the Reverend Dr. Sean Michael Greener, radio host, national pastor, author, and speaker for Sundays with Dr. Sean. Hold on tight. Here comes the truth.
Hey, how y'all doing? I thought about this and I thought, well, is this something I want to do? I'm Dr. Sean Greener, and I am going to tell you a story. And I feel strongly about the story because I lived it. This is a story that I'm living now, right? This is not a story that I'm telling that I don't know something about, because I do. I know everything about it. Well, most stuff. Some stuff I don't know because I don't know, because I was unconscious. But other stuff I know because I lived it then, I lived it since, and I live it now. So, you guys know I had a little business, a couple little businesses, and one of them was Executive Protection Team, executiveprotectionteam.com. You can learn more about that. And then I had a little mold remediation business, indoor air quality testing remediation business. I was always fascinated with air and water quality. So I had a business. It was a successful business. We were right in our cusp. We had just met with our accountant, and our accountant was saying, "Hey, you are right on the cusp. You're going to make your break, and that's going to be awesome." And we were finally going to be able to pay ourselves a little bit of a salary and all that stuff, pay off equipment and all that stuff. Well, anyway, the executive protection team had two people who had very credible death threats made against them, international figures, and I was asked to protect them. They were going to be doing a conference, and they had death threats on them, and I don't know how you could threaten either one of these people. One, pretty much, I don't think, why would anybody? But then the other one, well, you don't love this guy, something's really wrong with you. And apparently there's a lot of godless people that don't love the guy. Anyway, so on the morning, I think it was the morning, I don't know if I took it there that day or a couple days before, but my detailer, the guy who detailed my black Suburban, you can see the pictures on the Facebook Live post. And folks, if you're on Spreaker, I apologize. Let me see here. Let me see if I can just plug this thing in here right quick. Oh, well. Yeah, sound's not going to be so super great. I apologize for that. I forgot to plug in the really fancy mic. So, anyhow, on Spreaker, the Ninja Pastor Radio Show, you won't see these, but on Facebook Live, you see the photographs of the car I was in. Now, I'm talking about how racism killed me. And you might wonder, looking at those photographs, I'm looking at them right now, you might wonder, well, what does that have to do with racism? It has everything to do with racism. I mean, a whole lot to do with racism. So that morning, or that afternoon, I was picking up, I had to go look at a job and do some other stuff, but then I had to pick up my Suburban. It's blacked out Suburban. It's the Suburbans used for protecting people, carrying people around that you're protecting. Anyway, it's gleaming, beautiful, had it all set, because just like I said, a few days later, I was going to be protecting these two world famous people, household names, the one in particular. Anyway, I'm on my way home. I picked up the car at the detailer. I'm on my way home, and I'm crossing a bridge I've crossed a gazillion times, including that day. And at 6:18, there was some construction on the bridge where it's reduced to one lane. And this bridge is called the St. George's Bridge. And if you've ever been over that bridge, or not St. George's Bridge, Summit Bridge. The Summit Bridge seemed like it had been under construction forever, but so it's down to one lane going up and over, headed southbound to my home. God bless you too. Thank you all, by the way, for listening. And I'm on my way down, and you guys know, unless I'm getting somebody to safety or I'm racing, on a track, I don't speed, unless it has to do with a tactical advantage of somebody I'm protecting or I'm on a racetrack, I don't speed. And so I was going 50 miles an hour going down the thing and going down the bridge on the south side of the bridge. And then the bridge went from the right lane being blocked to no lanes being blocked. So I went ahead and after the pylons, those orange like barrels, I went ahead and got over into my right lane, and as soon as I could, and I was going, like I say, 50 miles an hour, and going down, the backside of the bridge, and it was normal. I was going to go home and eat some dinner. I was excited. The detailer did such a beautiful job on the Suburban. I was happy about that. It looked beautiful. It smelled great. It was my custom. I was going to have some magazines in the back and have some stuff in the back. One of them is a famous sports figure, so I was going to have a nice brand new football in the back and a Sharpie taped to it. Just a hint. I'd like to sign that. Maybe I'll have two, one for my kids, one for each of my kids, Lily and Doyle. And Lily was away at college, and Doyle was just recovering. He had just had major surgery not that long before. His leg was shattered in a football championship. He played football, and his leg got shattered. And so he had to have major surgery on it. And he was supposed to go that Friday, I think the day after this happened, that Friday, to have the pins and screws and some of those things taken out. And he played for this team called the Maryland Christian Saints. Anyway, it was major, major injury. I mean, crippling injury. And but he ended up playing again. Anyway, so he was on crutches and he had leg in a cast. So I come down the bridge, and at 6:18, this is what I'm told, I remember hearing squealing, tire squealing, and I remember seeing smoke. And then all of a sudden, this is what I recall. I recall saying, uh-oh. I recall the impact, and I've been shot twice. I've been blown out of a building. I've had failed parachute openings where I've hit the ground going real hard. I've had a lot of, nose broken. You don't get nose like this. This last time was the 7th time. I've had a lot of pain in my life, and I manage it pretty well. And I remember thinking, wow, I can't breathe. I cannot breathe. Couldn't draw a breath. Could not draw a breath. I remember the impact being more or less an explosion, and then stopping really quickly, which was true because I went from 51 miles per hour to 0 in 7 feet. That's unsustainable, unsurvivable deceleration. The deceleration trauma, the G that I pulled alone, frontal G, let alone semilateral G, was more than, the fatal accident team had ever seen anybody survive. So cars are sitting there. This is the next thing I remember. I feel a lot of heat on my left side. I feel a lot of heat, and I feel really, really trapped. I didn't realize I was trapped, but I was really crushed in. And I remember everything hurt. Everything. I'm here to tell you, everything hurt. I didn't know what my face looked like. I didn't know what my mouth looked like. I didn't know what my shoulder looked like, but I knew everything down to my waist was severe pain. So I remember praying 3 prayers. I do remember this. I prayed a prayer of contrition because I said, Father, with all the training that you've given me, all the world-class driving training and protection training I've had over the course of decades, if something hit me and I couldn't avoid it, it must have been going fast. And if it was going that fast enough to hit me, then somebody's dead in that other vehicle. I had no idea about me. I felt, well, I'm praying, must be alive. And I remember I prayed a prayer. So I prayed a prayer of contrition, asking forgiveness of my sins. I prayed a prayer of petition for the people in the other vehicle. And then I prayed I gave thanks that my dog wasn't in the car. Oh, bless you, Sneezy. That my dog wasn't in the car because I had just gotten a detail. Otherwise, she rode around with me all the time. And then nobody else was in the car with me. And then I just kind of stayed there, primarily because I was trapped there. Didn't know it. That didn't hit with me, didn't connect with me. What ends up happening is I thought this was strange. I feel all this heat on my left side. And nobody was coming up to my car. And I couldn't figure that out. I was like, hello? I could hear people screaming. I could hear people scurrying around. I could hear it. I could feel the heat. But nobody was coming up to my car. And I thought, well, that's odd. Well, I found out why later. A couple years later, actually. So, nobody's coming to the car. But I can hear all this activity over the obviously striking vehicle. And all of a sudden, a lady comes up to the car, a young lady with, I describe it as alabaster skin, beautiful skin, straight black hair, and she had a little diamond nose thing. And I couldn't turn my head. I didn't know I couldn't turn my head because I was crushed. But I did my eyes like that. And I looked at her. And as soon as I did, she started screaming. This guy's alive. He's alive. This guy's alive. She started screaming that. I can hear her. I'm like, that's good news. Maybe they thought the car was on autopilot. Maybe they thought nobody was in here. And, but I didn't do a whole lot of talking or anything because, well, I was in a lot of pain. And I was really, really trapped. So I was 6'4", and the roof crushed in on the headrest, on top of the headrest. My head when driving the vehicle was about here, headrest here. Now it's down here. I was trapped in 8 inches of space, literally. My legs were mangled. It was horrible. It was just a bad, bad deal. And I remember all of a sudden, there was a flurry of activity around my car. However, there was an off-duty something or other. I can't remember if it's a paramedic or police officer. Came up and he said, look, don't turn your head and look at me. Look at your windshield. Look straight ahead. And I know what he was doing. He didn't want me to turn my head. I get it. I had no concept, really, of how bad I was. What I looked like, none of it. Because you couldn't see, Anyway, what ends up happening is he asked me, do I have a fire extinguisher? Do you have a fire extinguisher in your car? Because the car next to me was literally burning to the rims. I mean, and I could feel it. It was really hot. And I could actually feel it on my face and my left arm. So what ends up happening is I said, yeah, I have a fire extinguisher in here. If you help me get this door open, apparently I had been trying to get the door open. If you help me get this door open, I'll help you look for it. He goes, mister, you're not going anywhere. In the meantime, I don't know if it's him or somebody else, I think it was him, said, "Mister, you're in real bad shape. It's bad. Is there somebody I can call for you really fast?" And so I knew Colleen's phone number. And I said, "You want to call this number?" I couldn't set my eyes on my phone. I said, "You want to call this number?" But she's not going to answer because she doesn't answer strange numbers. So I said, "You're going to have to call back and call back and call back and call back, okay?" So he says, "Okay." So he did that. And finally he made contact with her. And, we only lived 10 minutes down the road, if even. And I remember a female paramedic coming up to the car and climbing across shards of metal and broken glass and mangled car. Because I could tell by how hard it was for her to get into the vehicle. She literally climbed into the vehicle through the back right door. I don't know how she even got it open. And she climbed across, and she had to kind of twist her body. And it was a hot day. It was an April day, but it was hot. It was in the 80s. And she had to twist her body to get around. And little known to me, but she asked me questions. She said, "Describe what you feel from your head down." And I did. But I apparently stopped at my waist because I couldn't feel anything from my waist down. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel anything. And so what ends up happening is she says to me, "You're hurt very badly." And I said, "Okay." And she says, "But I got to ask you," because I was carrying a firearm and magazines and bullet-resistant vest. I didn't have the vest on. It was behind me. Bunch of accoutrements of an executive protection professional. And she said, I said, I can't get to my gun, but because it was on me, and I didn't know that I was trapped. I didn't really catch that. So she said, "Just leave it be." I said, if you hand it to me, if you can get it out and hand it to me, I can make it safe for you." She goes, no, let's just leave it right where it is. It was in a special holster and everything. It's fine. And she says, "Are you with the Secret Service?" And I said, "No, but we do work with them." And, okay. And I said, "Now that you know my background, I know that you're not supposed to do this, but can you tell me, how bad is this?" And I know that they're not allowed to do it. They're not supposed to. I was a police officer for years. You're not supposed to. And so she says to me, after about a 30-second silence, she says, "I can't believe you're still alive." And I said, "Okay, let's keep working that direction, because let's work the problem. That's what I'm about. Work the problem. Stay alive the next 30. Just keep alive. Keep alive the next 30 seconds, the next 30 minutes. So what ends up happening is I am in a lot of pain. And then all of a sudden I'm in no pain. Whee! Unbeknownst to me, this amazing paramedic, had put, I think, one or two IVs in me, and I was getting fentanyl directly. And so she asked me to do a survey again of my body, and I stopped at the waist again. She said, "Okay." So then the firemen come up. Now, I didn't know they had already been, the EMT firemen and paramedics had already been to my car. I didn't know that. And she said, and she stayed in the car. She said, "We're going to cover you with a sheet because they're going to cut the left side of the car off to get you out. We can't get you out any other way." I said, "Okay." Well, I'd seen the Hirsch tool, or the jaws of life, been used lots of times. I was a police officer before, and I'd seen it lots of times. Been right there while the firemen did their great work. And it was loud, and it was very different it's very different from the inside. I will tell you that. It's very, very different when you're right there. And so what ends up happening is I heard a helicopter, after they do all the cutting. And she stayed right there with me, leaned in. Crazy. Amazing. She deserves an award. And I remember the helicopter, and I said, is that Trooper 2 or Trooper 4, which is what Delaware State Police medical helicopter. And she says, Trooper 4. And I said, are they here for this crash? And she says, yeah. And I said, well, listen, because she had told me they were young kids in the other vehicle. And she said, I said, if it's a decision between me and them, take the worst of them. And she said, that's not a decision that's up to you. We make that decision. So, okay. She's a little bossy. She was very sweet. Anyway, so she got me stabilized, and then just as they were getting me out of the vehicle, they've got you in this cervical collar. They're trying to short backboard you and then transfer you to a longer backboard right there. I mean, it was amazing. Just as that happened, Colleen and Doyle arrived. And I remember trying to reassure Colleen because I didn't know what I looked like or what any of this scene looked like. But she literally was right there, right next to the paramedic. In fact, she had to pull the paramedic shirt down because she was so jacked up from working on me. Her shirt was lifted, a uniform shirt. And so she did that, and she said, are you the wife? And she said, yeah. And so I said, as they're pulling me out, I said, I can't remember what I said. It was something trying to reassure her, and because I always taught my family and everybody in my classes and everybody I teach, you've got to remain calm. You've got to find a way to be calm. And so she was like, I got this. I'm good. Now later on, when Doyle was calling Lily at college, when they were on their way to the hospital, and I was in the ambulance, she broke down and cried, but she did great. She did really great. Both of them did great. Anyhow, so they're wheeling me to the ambulance, and they almost closed the ambulance door on me because I was tall, and my feet hung off the thing. And but then the paramedics, I remember as soon as they got me out of that car, let me just say this. Remember that whole thing about I didn't feel any pain from my waist down? Oh, I felt it now. Oh, I felt it now. Yep, we feel that. We feel that. Yep. Even with the fentanyl, and I didn't know I had fentanyl, but it was amazing stuff. But still, I was in a lot of pain, and I was no stranger to pain, so I was managing that, trying to be calm. In fact, they nicknamed me the calm one. Colleen says, I need you to take a deep breath. This is what I said to Colleen as they're pulling me out of the car. And she said, I got this. She was proud of herself. And I was proud of her, actually. Because I do that. I drip train on how to survive, how to thrive, and on little things, teaching tactical things, just little here and there, little things. And so they did great. They were phenomenal. She did great. And that was the beginning of a very long day. So I'm in the ambulance, and there's two paramedics in there. And the one leans over me, and he's working on me. The other one's working on me. And he says, I can't believe you're alive. He said, the man upstairs must have big plans for you. And I said to him, the man upstairs has big plans for all of us. Now, I didn't realize how messed up my face was and my teeth and all that. I had 10 broken teeth, broken nose. Ugh. It's all swole up. And so I said, the man upstairs has a plan for all of us, for each of us, and it's up to us to live it. And then I said, something sacred hangs in the balance of every moment. It's a quote of Avraham Heschel. And something sacred hangs in the balance of every moment. And I knew something sacred was going on there. So they worked on me on the way to the hospital, and I get to the hospital and I can hear screaming. I can hear, I'm going to the trauma room and all this stuff, and I can hear the chaos and people yelling and all this stuff. And I'd been to the trauma room before, and I'd taken people there as a police officer, and I've spent a lot of time in the ER, and so I knew, and how it turns out is we found out my son played football, and he recognized some of the people in the they were on his football team, a different team, the Appoquinimink High School football team that he was on at that time, and he recognized them, and I remember him leaning over and saying to Colleen and me, or maybe just to her, that he said the names of the people. I'm not going to say their names here. Said the names of the people, and then it started to come out. Somebody in that other vehicle did die, and it turns out it was a kid I knew very well. He was very sweet. He was the right front passenger. He was going to go play football on a full ride scholarship. They were all seniors at the dual school, and he was dead. He was gone, and I tell you, that was a tough thing to hear, because I liked this kid. He was funny. He was fun to watch play football. He smiled all the time. His name was Andre, and he was wonderful, wonderful kid. And I was sad. He was a neighbor even. Doyle and him used to ride together to football practice. They played the same position. Doyle backed him up. So he was gone. He was dead. And that was the beginning of a very long series of events. Now, I've told you that this is how, racism killed me. Now, here's how. Now, this part is not going to be that easy for you to hear, and it's not going to be that easy for you. Certainly to recount it is a risk. And I can tell you, I've personally paid a price for recounting this, even though every word is true. It's all highly documented. By the way, somebody just sent me a message and said, did you die? Did you have an NDE, near-death experience? I did die, but I didn't know that until quite some time later, when the paramedic, I was right in front of the paramedic himself, and he, the very first one, and he said, Mr. Greener, we did your vitals and you were gone. You were gone. And then, as is our policy, we have to have another paramedic, EMT, come and take your vitals, and then that's when we walk away. And we walked away. So, okay, that's interesting information. Didn't know that. So I did not have a near-death experience. I don't remember seeing Christ. I don't remember, I don't remember. It was just a void of time, and I don't even know how long it was. Suffice it to say, the hospital was a suboptimal experience. They were not kind to me. I did not receive good care, let alone excellent care. And the reason why, and people can say the smack all they want about, nurses and doctors are unbiased. They take care of everybody. Well, I can just tell you, in my case, no, it was not good. And my family and my friends, John Campanella and Jerry Summers and several others that were there, they can tell you they witnessed it. It was horrible. Why didn't you sue them? Big old hospital like that, one of the biggest hospitals in the country. Yeah. Anyway, so obviously the long process goes to getting home. And then we find out about the tweets. We find out about what happened before. So there's a road called Marlpit Road. And it's only a minute or so from where the crash happened. Maybe a minute. Maybe a little more if you're driving normal speed limit. Turns out they were going 109 miles an hour in a borrowed car with state minimum insurance. The driver was 19 years old. He's fine, by the way. And everybody, all the other occupants are fine. Only the right front passenger died, and I died and came back, and it transformed my life. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. I couldn't figure out, why are these nurses, I get along great with nurses and doctors, why are they not being kind to me? And why aren't they rendering good care? I mean, it was obviously horrific, egregiously bad care. So when I go home, we start hearing about the tweets. Doyle screen copies or screen snaps them. And this is from where they were stopped. Yeah. They were stopped just minutes before by a guy I knew really well. I know him really well because he was a public information center. He wasn't a police officer. He wanted to be a police officer. And I wrote one of the recommendation letters for him to become, his name was Wayne. Wonderful, wonderful person and a phenomenal, phenomenal human being. And made an excellent cop, as I knew he would. Well, moments before, he had stopped that vehicle for reckless driving, speeding, passing on the right. They had spent the day at the beach because it was a gorgeous day. He borrowed his uncle's car. The driver borrowed his uncle's car. And they were driving like a fool. He was driving like a fool all day long, speeding. He'd run a bunch of people off the road. And they were on their way to take one of the kids that lived in Newark, take them home. And so they get stopped by the police. The computer's messed up on the police car. And so they couldn't, he couldn't immediately go through that whole process, doing all what he needed to do. So it took a little bit longer, maybe about 20 minutes. And so while they're being stopped and they're awaiting a police officer, they tweeted, "Just got stopped by a racist white cop for DWB, which is driving while black." Okay, you didn't get stopped for driving while black. You got stopped because you were driving like an ass. You were driving, speeding, swerving, pushing people off the road. The people, it turns out later on, even though they all lied about it, the only one told the truth was the younger brother of the boy that was killed. He's the only one that told the truth because he got dropped off at the house. His brother Andre, the one who died, insisted that he get dropped off at the house because he knew he was driving crazy. Everybody in that car lied. In fact, they told everybody at school, at the high school where I was beloved. My daughter was in the first graduating class. My son was a freshman there. Told him that it was a police cover-up and that a police officer had killed Andre and that the cops were covering it up. Yeah, that's what they said. Total lie. They said I hit them. Meanwhile, they were 48 feet into my lane, crossed a concrete median this high and 48 feet long. They went airborne. I was 6 feet. I was able to turn 6 feet into the turn lane or onto the shoulder to try to avoid them, and I still couldn't do it. They struck me at 92 miles per hour. I went from 51 miles per hour to 0 in 7 feet. But they lied about everything. Racist white, just got stopped by a racist white cop for DWB, driving while black. And then Andre, or somebody in the vehicle, posted, "YOLO, you only live once." Yep. And so after they left, and first of all, he wasn't a racist. Wayne's not remotely a racist. Not remotely a racist. He was sweet. He was a good guy. He is a good guy. He was just doing his job, And I'm told that he has a lot of regret that he didn't maybe take the driver out of the car and have the car towed. Because literally a minute later, he ran several more people off the road, lost control of the vehicle at 109, hit me head on. Killed me. I came back to life, but he permanently altered the rest of my life. I went from being this vibrant, strong guy, ran businesses and could work 16-hour days and could do anything I wanted. Andre didn't write that. You're right. Andre didn't write that. It was another occupant in the vehicle, but I don't want to say the name of the vehicle because his mom feels horrible about that. And in retrospect, he feels horrible about that. I remember now what the name is, but I don't want to say the name. Thank you, Colleen. So this set into motion being treated in the town horribly. Now, this is a town where I was well liked, very well liked. I lived there a long time, and I was really, really well liked. And then all of a sudden, people aren't even talking to me. I remember I had to go up to the school quite some time later to retrieve some paperwork for my son, and I walked in the office, and they were like, shunned me. That didn't make any sense. These are the same people that are like, oh, you're Doyle and Lily's dad. Oh, we love Doyle and Lily. And all this stuff. They wouldn't even look at me. I didn't know why. So all of this stuff, all these racist things that they're saying, every single word, and there's more to it. I'm just sharing that little bit with you. They lied. They lied about why they were stopped. They lied about the police officer. They called him a racist. Not a racist. He did nothing racist that day at all. He is white. They are black. They were driving like crazy people. And guess what happened? They ran into me. I thank God it was only me. He could have killed other people. He totally changed the trajectory of my life. I sustained, as you might imagine, lots of injuries. The most serious of it is traumatic brain injury. I mean, I have trouble walking. The list of the impact on my life and my family's life has been unreal. I couldn't work anymore. I tried for years. We lived off of our savings. We completely depleted our savings because I was bullheaded. And I said, no, I'm going back to work. I knew I could make good money doing what I was doing. We were doing well. We weren't saving any really money yet, but we had savings. And I was always about putting food away. Colleen would do that to put food away. You never know what's going to happen. Let's, have a little food storage. And we lived off that. And we lived off our savings and what she made at the cleaning business. But I was like 80% of the income. And we lived off our savings till it was gone. Then we lived on credit cards. True story. Because I was confident I'm going back to work and I'll make back all the money. The Bible talks about God will restore what the locusts have eaten. And so I knew if I can just get back to work, I'm going to be all right. We're going to make back all this money that we've lost and everything. And I never did. And I just got worse and worse and worse. And then they found out that through all of this terminal situation happened. And I believe that it would have never happened. I'm literally in constant, unremitting pain every day of my life since that day. Every single day. Now, people will tell you that know me that I'm not a racist person. When I was a police officer, I dealt with people as human beings. I didn't care what color you were. I got to deal with this person can kill me. Their skin color doesn't kill me. It's their hands. What they do with their hands. Their intent. All of this. None of this came out. They told everybody at their school that, it was a racist white cop that stopped them, that a cop that people were covering up for a cop, it was a big cover up and all this stuff. And, that I had killed Andre. Beloved guy at school. And it didn't come out until the trial, until the guy was about to get off. He was about to be sent home. he was going to be sent home with, time served, and because he eventually he pled guilty to the charges, and they were going to let him go home. Going to let him go home. None of this stuff came out. The prosecutor, the state of Delaware, the guy who represented the case, I'm not going to say his name. None of the stuff we kept telling him over and over and over. This is what they tweeted. This is what actually happened. He had everything wrong. Said they crossed the grass median. All these different things. Said all these things. He was completely wrong. And the defense attorney was saying all these things that were complete lies. And then it came time for me to give my victim's impact statement, and I stood up and said, the judge had already, by the way, determined what the judgment was going to be. She had already filled out the penalty sheet, because she alone decided. It wasn't a jury deal. He was going to go home right then. They were going to, take the handcuffs off, and he was going home. By the way, at no point in time did he ever express any remorse. He was mad because when they did a video of the guy and in jail when he was awaiting trial, the worst part of it, or afterwards, worst part of it was that the food was like cafeteria food, but you have to eat it every day. That was the worst part of it. Anyway, I didn't even know this kid, My first time seeing him, literally, was across the courtroom from him. And I'm hunched over. I'm in horrific pain. I've got to use a cane. Everything is hard now. Everything is hard. Tying my shoes, which I can't do. Everything. You name it. Eating. Everything that I do now is, and I don't want you to feel sorry for me, because I don't feel sorry for me. But everything, literally everything, the simplest thing is incredibly difficult now. And everything hurts. And this kid and these attorneys lied. Now, he's a black kid, and it was a car full of black kids. I'm a white guy. And it was easy for the narrative to be flipped that I'm some bad white guy, and there's some conspiracy and all this stuff. And it's easy to lie because nobody wants to stop them and say, whoa, that's a lie. Whoa, that's a lie. So I'm giving my victim's impact statement. And they're thinking how this impacted me, and I'm going to stand up. And Andre's mom spoke, and I'm pretty sure his mom spoke. And she was just feet away from me. She didn't do anything wrong. I wasn't mad at her. Not at all. I wasn't mad at Andre. I wish the people in the vehicle would have had the cojones to stop him from driving like an ass all day long. But they didn't. They didn't. I don't know why they didn't, but it cost them their friend, and it cost me, virtually everything. I stood up and I said what was true. I talked about the tweets. I talked about all these other things. And you could see the judge. This was the first time any of this was reaching her ears. And oh, by the way, black woman judge. And she was awesome. And so the defense attorney tried to stop, different things. And, and I said it how it was. And I said, you can check. You're welcome to check, but this is what happened. This is the reality of it. Not what was just said there. This is what I live with now. Little did I know. I had no idea it would get that much worse. I thought that's as bad as it can get. But oh no, I was wrong about that. And I'm just telling you, racism goes both ways. I'm not saying there's not racism in the world. I'm not saying that. But when these people are burning cities, and it's mostly privileged white kids, have big allowances, and they're messed up in their heads, and they're anarchists because they think that's really cool. They're using black people as a tool, as an unwitting pawn. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Anyway, I don't have all day, neither do you. Here it comes down to this. None of this destruction, criminal activity, killing, They're killing people, folks. They're killing people. They're killing law enforcement. They're killing innocent shop owners, retired old people, and women. They're killing them. When are you going to get pissed off about that? And they're all in cities where this is happening. They're all in cities that are every person from top to bottom is liberal. They've been in charge for decades. And they're somehow blaming Trump? They're somehow blaming white people? Systemic racism? You're a fool. If you fall for that, you're a fool. That's an utter lie. I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist in the world and doesn't exist in the United States, but I'm here to tell you. The numbers don't support it. The data doesn't support it. I know my heart doesn't support it. 99.9% of the people that I know and love, I know what I know about them, and that doesn't support it. And I know tons and tons and tons of people, black people, who are disgusted by this. They work hard every day, and now everything is made harder. You want to talk about racism? I can't go to church and hug the neck of people I love while worshiping Christ because they say you can't leave your home. You got to social distance. You got to do this. You got to do that. Oh, you got to wear a mask. Can't do this. We can't meet in church, but the abortionists continue to sling their deadly blade. Liquor stores can be open. Big box stores can be open. We got to do a bunch of things to go there. All these things are happening, but I can't go to church. I can't go to church. People are losing everything they had over the lie of racism. And at every single place where this is happening, where the cities are burning and people are being murdered, are liberal cities that are controlled top to bottom, all the way from governor to dog catcher. All controlled by Democrats, been controlled by Democrats for decades. But somehow this has to do with me and my skin color. They're liars. They're hateful, evil people. And we can make Antifa the scapegoat. We can make them the scapegoat and say, well, it's these kids, they're anarchists. And they're evil. They're murderers. They're a terrorist organization. Thank you, President Trump. Yet another thing that nobody had the balls to do, but this guy who comes into office and says, you're a terrorist. He's this horrible guy, but he's doing everything conservatives have been begging for. And the other conservative leaders have said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this when I get in. You elect me and I'm going to do this. None of them do it. He does it. And Biden's been in public office, living off the teat of the American taxpayer for 38 years. He was in the White House for 8 years as Vice President of the United States of America. He was in the White House for 8 years, serving under the first black president. And you are telling me that systemic racism is the problem and that Trump has got to go because he's been in there almost 4 years and black unemployment is the lowest it's ever been in history, that black prosperity is the highest it's ever been in history, that black homeownership is the highest it's ever been in history, that black professional jobs are occupied at a higher rate than in history, that he has the most diverse administration, female, black, LGBT, and otherwise, in cabinet level positions and the closest positions of presidents, the greatest amount of diversity in history, and you are telling me that somehow he is the problem. They don't hate him as much as they hate you. They hate him because he's exposing all of this, and they hate you worse, and they hate him because he is standing in the way of them getting to you. And that's reality. I'm going to tell you racism does exist, but racism is being used as a tool. If you want to tell me that a black football player, Malcolm Jenkins, punk as he is, fake crying on a little video. Ooh. Oh, and Malcolm, if you want to say, I followed you all through college, so don't think I don't know who you are. If you want to say, all right, Mr. White Man, you want to come get in my face and talk about it? Come on, bring it on. I'm in Hampstead, North Carolina. Bring it on, brother. I got a little left in me, and just enough for you. Because Drew Brees, your quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback, most generous guy in New Orleans, has given millions and millions of dollars to help people of all colors, is a wonderful God-fearing man. And he says, when he's asked, I'm not going to disrespect the flag. I will never disrespect the flag. I'm not going to kneel. I'm not going to. You want to do that? That's up to you. But I'm not going to do it. I understand. And he goes on and gives a speech. Malcolm Jenkins gets on and does a video where he's fake crying. Come on, dude. Come on, dude. I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. Fake crying, trying to get sympathy. Race baiting, race hustlers. Why? Because that gets them stuff. That gets you to back off them. They can do whatever they want to do. And it's not just black people. It's white people. I know of very privileged white people, kids, in their 20s, who have lived off the teat of their parents, who have worked their rear ends off to provide for their families. And they're actually, talking about systemic white racism and all this stuff. And they're white, and they grew up privileged, and their parents busted their hump, and their parents are no more racist than to be a man on the moon. Now, I am disappointed that Drew Brees took back that he apologized. He didn't take it back, but he apologized for any hurt that might have caused. I say stand up, brother. But you know why he apologized? Because there weren't 100,000 of us behind him going, we got your back, brother. We got your back. Now, I'm not saying start a race war. I don't want a race war. I don't want a race war. I just want to live. I want to go where I want to go. I want to do what I want to do. I'm not hurting anybody. Come on down my street and try to set a fire, throw a brick. You'll get a direct lead injection at high velocity. And I won't apologize for it. Put me in jail, put me in jail. I'm not letting that happen to my family. I'm going down fighting. I don't care what color you are. You got a gun in your hand, a brick in your hand, or a torch in your hand. You're going down. Now, Drew Brees was forced to do that because he's got to work in this environment, live in this environment. He was pressured because there weren't enough of us standing behind him saying, we understand what you're saying. We've got you. Thank you for standing for us. Thank you for standing for the flag. Thank you for standing. Listen, the flag waves on the last breath of heroes who gave everything so that flag could stand. I'm telling you, this is a scam. COVID-19, scam. Now all of a sudden they can be out there, 100,000 people pressed all together. They can be out there, not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem. Nobody's locking anybody up for it now. They're just letting them set fire to things. These liberal, and don't be hard on the police departments because the police department, they're doing what they're told. They're doing what they're told. The police department answers to the mayor and the governor and all these, depending on what level police it is. They're doing what they're told and they're getting killed. It's a big lie. But all you have to do is cry racism and everybody cowers. Candace Owens, one of the neatest people you ever meet in your life. She's a little bitty tiny thing. Brilliant. Sweet, but tough. And many others have said, whoa, you don't speak for me. Racism killed me. It physically killed me, and God saw fit to bring me back to life. I don't know why. But he did. And I mean against all odds. The organization that investigates highway traffic safety and traffic crashes, they don't know. They bought the car. They bought my car. They don't know who was in it. They don't know any of those things. They study it scientifically. They cut it open. They study the metal. They study the seatbelts. Study everything. I bent the steering wheel with my mouth. Steering wheel hit right here. I bent it right like that. I still hit, even though I had my seatbelt on tight, I still hit the windshield with my forehead. The steering wheel crushed on me, shattered my left side, massive thoracic damage, serious traumatic brain injury, all this other stuff. It's a long list. And their conclusion was, after scientifically studying the vehicle, that the occupant, the driver, did not survive. Sustained unsurvivable injuries. Well, here I am. Not a hologram. It's nothing I did. It's something God did. Yet another thing. I'll say this and then I'll close. First of all, thank you for listening. And thank you for sharing if you want to share it. Thank you for doing that. Like and subscribe and all the things that people say. They've made it such that, and by they I mean everybody that's involved in this race baiting, race hustling, perpetually aggrieved, they're doing it so that you'll back off of them and let them do whatever they want to do. That you'll give them more things, white, black, and different. Doesn't matter to me what color. The people involved in this are of all colors. They do it because they can. Because it's been effective. It's been effective for them. And so they keep doing it. They have a right to protest. You have a right to have your voice heard. But you don't have a right to burn down people's businesses and homes. You don't have a right to kill people. There needs to be bullets flying, and some innocent. Hey, look, if you're with a group and that group starts burning things, setting fire to cars, well, they're mad. You don't understand their anger. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. It's manufactured. It's manufactured. It's fake. It's a fraud. The media covers it. You say, well, look at all these black people been killed. Look at the statistics I posted just a few days ago from the National Crime Information, NCIC, and the National Institute for Justice, and the FBI crime statistics. They're all verifiable. The number of white people killed by police versus the number of black people killed by police is double. The incidence of black on black crime pales in comparison to white on black crime. Homicide by the hands of a white person, black person, homicide in the hands of a white person, pales in comparison. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Get your house in order. Stop making up stuff. Stop making up stuff. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm done. Put on your whole armor of God and stand for the truth. Stop letting them tell lies. Stand for it. Yeah, you're going to be called a racist. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Racist, 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 racist. Systemic racism. They change don't you get it? They change everything, just like they did with the stupid COVID-19 crap. They change everything. When it's proven false, they change it. They just came out lying about a study about hydrochloroquine. $6 a dose. You get fixed for $6. You have a chance of living for $6. As opposed to 750% more for remdesivir, which they got their money there, and all the what do you call them? Vaccines that they're working on. They stand to make gazillions of dollars, and meanwhile, the president himself is the one standing for the cheapest one. Racism, kiss my butt, just kiss my behind. I'm tired of hearing that. And you know what's funny is I'll get probably 300-400 emails and notes just from this alone. And most of them will be from people genuinely reaching out to me and encouraging me, thanking me for what I say. And most of them will be people of color. And they'll say, I'm sick of it. They just want to scream. They've worked hard for everything they have. Everything. Well, they had privilege. They had privilege. The white people helped them and blah, blah, blah. White people aren't your problem, black people. White people aren't your problem. Except for Antifa. Antifa, mostly white people. They're your problem. They're racist. President Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, racist. Huge racist. Everybody knows it. But everybody's afraid to say it. Stand tall. Send Drew Brees, he's on Twitter and everything, you can find him. Send him an encouraging message. What happened to George Floyd was horrible. The guy that killed him should be locked up. I want to ask these people, what is it you want? What can I do? Okay, let's have a conversation right now. Let's not be yelling. You don't yell at me. I don't yell at you. You just tell me. Let's cut right to the chase. What is it you want? What do you want to happen? It's always this nebulous thing, by the way. It's never, okay, you want a solution? If you do this, this will stop. Never. Why? Because we're going to do that. We're going to do that thing. We're going to do that thing. Whatever you say, okay, yeah, we'll do it. Even though it's stupid, probably. We're going to still do it. Because we want peace. We just want to get back to work. We want to get back to loving America. We want to get back to living free and independent. What can we do? Never have an answer. They don't want to give you an answer. They don't want a solution because for them, success is in the problem. No justice, no peace. We locked up the police officer who was highly protected by his ultra-liberal police union in his ultra-liberal town in his ultra-liberal state with ultra-liberal everybody from dog catcher to governor in control for decades. Check. Locked him up. Charged him with murder. You want all the rest of them locked up. Okay. Check. Charged with murder. Do I think all the charges are going to stick? Probably not. You want to overcharge somebody? Hey, Jeff Lanthrop, your birthday's on the 12th. That's coming up. That's not that far. I don't know what day it is, but it's not that far from here. So if I forget, happy birthday. Genius trucker, I call that guy. Literally is a genius. Awesome thinker. Anyway, it's a scam. And you got to stop falling for the scam and supporting the scam because you're afraid of being called a racist. Antifa, mostly white people, they just want to ruin the world because that's what they do, because they're dumb. They're dumb. An Antifa member picks up a brick, a stick, a rock, a knife, anything. They need to be dropped. They need to be dropped. Click, click, boom. The next one wants to pick something up and throw it. Click, click, boom. Leave them right where they lay. The first thing they're going to do when they surround a car and are beating on a car, bang, 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 bang on the car, trying to drag the person out of the car, and the person steps on the skinny pedal on the right and runs a few of them over. Call the police, oh, they did wrong, call the police, oh my God, we're such victims. They go immediately from the people that are beating on the car and trying to drag out and kill. You don't think it happens all the time. They do this. These people are evil. They're not of God. They're evil. Antifa, they don't believe in God. They're anti-God. They're godless. And so 1 second they're going to tear you out of your car and kill you and set your car on fire. And jump for joy about it. You don't have anything to do with what happened. This police officer did. Nothing to do with it. But they're going to do that. Very first second you put your foot on that skinny pedal on the right and you drive over them. The very first second you put your foot to the metal and say, you maybe roll your window. I don't recommend this. You roll your window down a little bit and say, hey, I got to go. Get out the way. You get locked up. And they scream what a racist you are. Programmed to be perpetual takers and never be satisfied. No end in sight and not one individual today. I'll read the rest of it later, but you can read it. It's in comments right there. Very, very wise, very true. It's a scam, and you got to stop falling for the scam. Thank you for indulging me. I really appreciate it. You matter. People are being accused of being racist when they say all lives matter. That's their new shtick. You're either a sucker or you're dumb. Or you have evil intent. It's one of three things. You're either a sucker, or you're dumb, or you have evil intent. One of those three. If you support all of this crazy business going on, you are either a sucker, you are either dumb, or you have evil intent. You choose. Thanks for listening. It means a lot to me that you would. God bless you.